like a regular surface road.
Well, Henri had extensive training on I think this is why Doty was like, actually, hey, I know you're off duty, but can you come drive us for a minute?
Yeah, because Henri, he had, with Mercedes-Benz specifically, he had done several driver training courses for anti-kidnapping and anti-terrorist situations, which, for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, there's high-speed driver training like what cops do, where you're in an urban environment and you're on the gas, on the brake, learn how to control the car, and then there's evasion tactics and how to control a vehicle when it gets hit.
Yeah.
These are the things, and this is specifically in Mercedes-Benz vehicles is what he got trained in.
In this specific vehicle.
Yes.
Not this exact one, but this make and model.
Yes. So, as a general statement, most brands of vehicles, all cars in that brand are going to operate essentially the same. So if I'm in a Ford Focus and then I jump into the Ford Sedan, which is the next size up, they're going to operate essentially the same. And that's kind of the idea. It's just going to be
a different kind of weight behind you.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, the guy he would have known what he was doing in these cars, in these high-speed, possible, unpredictable road conditions.
Yeah. Do anything else about the crash before we move on to theories?
Oh, geez, what about the crash? Let me think. Now, after the spot where they found the Fiat taillight, they found 106 feet of skid marks. Veering to the left and into the 13th column. And then it appears that after the car hit the 13th column and swung, sort of half bounced off, swung around and came to rest up against the outer wall of the tunnel, it appears that the Fiat Uno must have driven past him on his left-hand side and left the tunnel.
Yeah.
Which suggests to me that maybe the guy in the Uno was either felt he was at fault, or maybe he was drunk.
Or suspended or something.
And he just didn't dare stick around. And
here's something we haven't talked about this whole thing yet that we should probably bring up now. Europe is chock full of CCTV cameras.
Oh, yeah.
There is no footage of this chunk of the road into that tunnel.
Yeah.
Because the cameras weren't on.
Yeah.
No, I think
there's multiple reasons. I mean, I've heard that they were down for maintenance. I've heard that they only run during rush hour times. I mean, I don't know exactly. I never got a clear picture of why they weren't running.
Yeah.
Well, there are cameras at the entrances of this tunnel, and I got this from the British Inquest about this thing, and they were not taped. They were just monitored in an office, basically, and the office closed at 11 p.m. And so that's why there's no video or anything like that.
That's insane to me that if you can pull recordable footage, why you wouldn't at least pull it and put it on a loop. So that you could 10 hours later go, oh, we really need the 2 o'clock this afternoon crash.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah. I agree. But
I mean, this is 1997. This is
that's
18 years ago. So, and most of the CCTVs that were along the route were not even turned towards the road.
Oh, weren't they?
No, a lot of Mohammed Al-Fayed made a huge stink about that, but it turns out they identified, I don't know what, maybe 10, 14 cameras along that route.
But there were some that were pointed towards the entry of the underpass, and that's...
I don't think so.
I thought there was at least one or two.
Most of the ones that they drove past were actually privately owned, and they were actually directed more towards security, so they were actually pointed at the front of the
so they weren't actually road cameras.
Yeah, no. They
okay.
You know, in 97, I don't think highway cams were as ubiquitous as
I
they
understood
are
this as they were highway cams. So that's why I brought it up.
No, they weren't.
Okay, well then never mind. I'm completely off base on that one.
Yeah, the only other thing I want to mention just briefly before we get into theories is that some eyewitnesses reported seeing a bright flash as the car entered the tunnel underpass.
Yeah.
I say that in an annoyed monotone, and we'll talk about it in a minute, I'm pretty sure. Or I guess we have to mention it.
Yeah. We have to mention it, and it does play into this next theory, which is the first theory that we need to talk about.
Okay.
Theory number 1, the paparazzi.
They did it. They murdered her.
Well, they were responsible. So let's do a little bit of a little bit of info. We've covered some of this briefly, but let me just kind of run into some of this. It's interesting. It's obvious why they were interested in her.
Yeah.
She's Lady Diana. She is the ex-wife of Prince Charles, who is heir apparent to the throne of England.
She's the mother of the future king of England.
Correct. And then there's Dodi. His dad is this giantly rich man who has his fingers in so many pies. I mean, it makes sense why they would be interested in both of them, though mostly I'm pretty sure they were interested in Diana.
Yeah.
In the 90s, people may not know this. I mean, I think people are used to this now, but this was kind of record-breaking at the time. Is in the 90s, several photographs of celebrities started selling for tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars to tabloids. This became a huge money-making industry.
Oh, yeah.
And while I personally don't think that it is a profession, it was a job that could make you a very rich individual if you got the right shot.
Yeah, so, the right shot being a picture of two people in a car.
Yeah, if you got the picture of them doing the nasty when they shouldn't have been, that's one thing.
Making out on the beach or the yacht, sure.
Yes, but
traveling by car?
Not so interesting.
Yeah, I know. It really wasn't all that necessary to drive fast. I mean, for Christ's sakes. I mean, unless they were trying to lose them, which they weren't about to do.
I think they were trying to lose them. They didn't want to know they didn't want them to know where the apartment was.
Because the idea was they're swarming the Ritz. Let's get away from the Ritz. Let's go to the apartment so that they don't know where we're at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the paparazzi, specifically the ones who were chasing them. There were 9 of them who were charged with manslaughter in France based on the accident because they were deemed to have been in some way responsible for the accident.
Yeah.
Those charges were thrown out in 2002.
Which makes sense when you think about it.
I don't think they were there. So yeah, that makes sense. There were 3 of them who were convicted of invasion of privacy for taking pictures of the couple. And this is so weird.
So dumb.
They were fined in 2006.
About what they sold their photos for.
I really don't understand how you could make any money taking pictures of Diana because everybody was doing it.
Yeah, you'd have to get a really compromising photo.
Yeah, you would.
And the guys that took the photos at the crash site probably could have sold them for a lot of money, but there's a lot of scuffle about that. But let's just move into the actual theory portion here. So people believe that the paparazzi are responsible for the crash in 2 different ways.
Okay.
As we just briefly touched on, the first is that they were responsible because they were chasing the couple. Because as we talked about, they sent the decoy car out, and then a little bit later, most of the paparazzi chased the decoy car, but not all of them took the bait, and some of them figured out that they were still there, and they chased the car from the back of the hotel where they actually left from. Of course, then that meant that it's their fault that they were driving so fast and so erratically to try to escape them. I do want to point out, and we touched on this earlier, is that the paparazzi were on motorcycles, aka mopeds.
Like Vespas.
Like a Vespa. So one guy driving, one guy on the back. So 2 dudes on a Vespa, which doesn't have a high speed. It's super maneuverable, so you can get in and out and get your photos and get out, but you cannot keep up with a Mercedes-Benz S280. That thing has a V8 engine in it.
Yeah, and it was being driven pretty quickly.
It's a high-power car. It's going to be able to escape them quickly, but the point is, it's theorized that if they had just not done their job so well, is a way to say it, then, of course, Henri wouldn't have had to drive so fast to try to escape them or evade them, that then this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So, although I would argue that if I were their lawyer, I'd argue that, hey, these people were trying to escape my clients. They should have found more creative ways to escape my clients than driving like at breakneck speeds through the middle of Paris.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah, no, that's a absolutely valid point.
Yeah, I think that these guys just need to get creative about evading paparazzi. I think they need to hire me. I would help them figure it out.
Well, the easy answer is blacked out windows. But hey, what do I know?
You can do that.
The other version of the theory is that they caused the crash directly. This is kind of an outside theory, but it is one thing. It's one of the theories that Muhammad Al-Fayed really, really gets in bed with.
Gosh, one of the hundreds.
Oh, that guy, what was it, like 70 or 80 theories he purported to the Inquisition saying...
I heard it was more like 175.
Yeah, it's some absurd number.
It could have been this, it could have been that, it could have been this, it could have been that.
I mean, like, it's almost as if he sat down for 3 months and wrote down every idea that could have been possible and then submitted those. But what he says is, or what the theory is, and Joe talked about this earlier, is there's the bright flash.
I mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, or it was you. Okay, thank you. If this theory is right, the bright flash was caused by the flash from a camera. So there is a photographer trying to take a photo, and they take a photo, and the flash blinds Henri to the point that he can't see, so that he loses control of the vehicle. People who saw the Mercedes enter the tunnel didn't say that they saw the paparazzi with them. So that makes me think that they had evaded them. So therefore, the whole flash thing seems a little weird. But we've also talked about the white Fiat, the Uno.
Yeah.
There are theories that say that when the Mercedes was going into the tunnel, there was the Uno and 3 motorcycles. The first theory is that there's the Mercedes. Directly in front of and to the right of it is the Fiat.
Trying to slow it down.
And behind it is the motorcycles. Or the Uno is next to the Mercedes, and then the motorcycles are behind both vehicles. This theory runs that the Uno was trying to get in front of, to slow down the Mercedes so that the photographers on the motorcycles could get their photos, which I can see, but it doesn't work for me. Or that the Fiat was trying to get up next to the Mercedes and take a picture. Both of these are saying that in some way somebody with a super bright flash on their camera was getting next to the car, and there was interference, and that bright flash is what then blinds Henri so that he loses control.
But that would take an amazing intelligence network to come up with their route ahead of time, to position a Fiat ahead of them on their route.
Call that blind luck to have been, holy crap, we're on the same route as Diana and Dottie. Oh my gosh, how could that be? But there's also this, and the witness accounts of everything going into the tunnel and out of the tunnel, they're unreliable at best. We've talked about witness statements before.
As always, there's some conflicts. They're not all the same. Nobody reported, for example, I read a number of different accounts that people who saw the Mercedes go into the tunnel, they were like coming out of the tunnel the other way, for example, and they didn't say anything about a white Fiat.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I have seen stuff about reports of seeing coming out of that tunnel another black or possibly white Mercedes that did in fact go in with them and speed out of the tunnel without them and disappear into the night.
A different kind of Mercedes?
A different Mercedes vehicle. So 2 Mercedes went in, 1 came out. But the color of that second Mercedes changes from dramatically white to black. depending on what you see.
Yeah.
So
well, if it was black, it could have been a decoy, and Diana and Dodie are still alive.
That's probably what it is.
Probably with Tupac.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
I
don't
think so, but
and I know there was at least one other car ahead of them in the tunnel too, because they also the driver of that car reported the white flash also.
correct. And I know we're going to go into some of that in detail.
We'll talk about that a little later.
But yeah, no. So it's hard because there's so many differing accounts.
Yeah.
Of so many, at least 2 to 3 vehicles.
Yeah.
Not counting the motorcycles.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm not sure where I land.
I don't
on this
know.
one.
Yeah,
I think the paparazzi are scumbags, but I don't think that per se it's their fault.
I agree.
No. And obviously they didn't deliberately do it because they don't want to kill Diana.
No.
Exactly.
Cash cow? No.
Yeah.
What a way to kill your paycheck.
Yeah, for real.
Well, let's move on to our next theory.
Yeah.
This is the fun one.
Man, there is so much on this one.
Just so you guys know, prepare, take your potty break now if you need to. Joe has written an entire episode's worth of information on this next theory.
Yeah, we're going to be talking fast, so stay on your toes. So the next theory is that the royal family, along with MI6 and SAS, got together and murdered Di and Dodie.
What's the SIS? SAS.
Yeah, special. SAS is Special Air Service, but what I meant was Special Service. Which
They're
is
the Special Air Service is the Special Service.
Yeah, Special
right?
Service encompasses the whole ball of wax, like MI6, MI5. MI5 is counterintelligence, and then MI6 is overseas spying, that kind of thing. You don't.
If you've seen a James Bond movie, you know.
Yeah, exactly. This theory is put forward by Mohammed Al-Fayed.
Shocking.
I know.
One of the 170.
Yeah, he's put together quite a bit of cool conspiracy theories here. I actually have a theory about Al-Fayed, which is that he's really proud of the fact that his son was dating Princess Di, and he just wants to keep reminding people about it.
We can talk a lot about Al-Fayed in a little bit.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
He is.
Mm-hmm. So why did they do this? Why did the royal family want to murder Di? Because, according to Al-Fayed, Di was pregnant with his child.
With Dodie's child, not Al-Fayed's child.
Yeah, not Muhammad's child. And apparently they're on the brink of announcing their engagement.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Do you know how infuriating tabloids are? There's a baby bump. No, it's called a human woman who has a normal belly.
Yeah.
In a one-piece bathing suit, she has an abdomen.
But it wasn't the tabloids that were putting this out, though.
Well, no, but the tabloids put out photos of Di's baby bump and stuff like that. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys cut it out. She's just a person.
She's just been guzzling a lot of beer.
Well,
she's got a gut.
It's particularly frustrating in this point. We haven't actually talked much about this, but people may or may not know Diana was severely bulimic for a good portion of her life, and so that was something she actually struggled with. So it's extra frustrating to know that she had those body issues, and to hear the tabloids were like, oh, it's a baby bump for her. It's like, oh, she's gaining some healthy weight that she
has
should be
10
gaining.
pounds of extra weight on. She must be preggers.
Yeah, no.
Annoying.
Anyways.
Well, it was the whole Diana thing was annoying, frankly. I think Diana would have considered me her ideal fan because I didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
And I wasn't interested at all.
So Di was pregnant.
So
and they were going to announce their engagement.
Pregnant with Dodie's child. They were going to, and so Prince Philip, not Princess Philip, Prince Philip, gave the order to rub her out because they obviously didn't want to have a Muslim child in the royal family. Islamic child. But and the service has apparently used a plan that was similar to one, surprisingly, that had been cooked up in 1992 to assassinate Slobodan Milosevic.
Which involved a bright flash. With a bright flash, you guys. Bright flash.
With a bright flash.
Yeah.
And bright flashes can do a lot, actually. You actually can, with a bright enough flash, you can actually stun people.
Yeah.
Actually cause them to conk out temporarily. You can disorient them hugely. But anyway, let's go ahead with this. Al-Fayed said, this is again Mohammed, that Henri Paul was working for an intelligence service and that he was somehow instrumental in the plan to kill Di and Doe.
Which is funny because, he
killed himself.
Well, no, he employed Henri.
Henri, yeah.
Right? He was his deputy head of security. So.
Yeah, of course, at the time, he didn't know this. He found this out later. I'll tell you his source. Somehow he was part of this plan, knowingly or not. He might have just been a cat's paw. But he also said that James Ondenson, who was a photographer, was also working for an intelligence service, and that he was present at the accident.
He was present at the accident, wasn't he?
Not
the photographer?
Really. James Anderson, no. But of course, this is just the accusations of Muhammad al-Fayed.
Okay.
He says that Anderson was working for an intelligence service. He was at the accident.